Hello and welcome to the FM Book Club's Rise and Reflect podcast series, ma'am, where we turn the world's best books into insights and that help you grow, lead, and live with confidence.
Today, we are exploring How Women Rise by Marshall Goldsmith and Sally Helgesen.
So find a quiet space, grab your coffee or journal, and let's begin this journey together.
Okay, let's get into it. We are doing a deep dive today into something that feels both really personal, but also, completely universal. We're looking at these specific behavioral habits and even the beliefs behind them that can stop really successful, high-achieving women from getting to that next level in their careers.
Yeah, and the source material for this is just fantastic. It all comes from this amazing collaboration that started with a crazy idea email back in 2015.
A crazy idea.
Yeah, it basically merged the work of two absolute titans in leadership. One is the world's expert on coaching successful people to change their behavior, and the other she's dedicated her entire career since the 90s to researching women's leadership.
So you have these two massive streams of knowledge coming together.
Exactly, a perfect combination.
So what's our mission here? What are we trying to pull out of this for you, the listener?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. We're going to synthesize the 12 most common habits they found, these self-limiting behaviors.
But we're not just going to list them, right? That would be boring.
No, not at all. We have to go deeper. We need to explore why these habits even develop. And this is the really interesting part.
Yeah.
They're almost always rooted in a genuine positive strength.
A strength that gets overused or twisted somehow.
Precisely. And then finally, we'll pull out the concrete, the actionable strategies you can actually use to make a change.
Okay, so at the heart of all this, there's a big idea, a kind of paradox.
There is. It's the whole concept of what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
The central idea is that the very skills and habits that made you a star early on, your incredible focus, your attention to detail, being super loyal, solving every problem yourself.
All the things you got praised for.
Exactly. All the things that got you promotions. Those are the precise things that can actively sabotage your ability to move into a senior leadership role.
I think we need to stick with that for a second because that's a tough pill to swallow. It's this idea of the superstition trap.
Explain that.
Well, if you're a high achiever, you've gotten positive reinforcement your whole life for doing certain things. So you pull an all-nighter, the project is a huge success. Your brain doesn't think, wow, I risked my health and that was unsustainable.
No, it thinks.
It thinks all-nighters equal success.
Yeah.
It becomes a superstition. You believe you succeeded because of the frantic behavior, not, in spite of it.
That is such a powerful way to put it. People absolutely replicate behavior that's followed by positive reinforcement. So these habits that are actually detrimental, like apologizing all the time or needing everything to be perfect.
They get
completely masked by all the other stuff you're doing right. And if you're successful, those bad habits just become invisible to you.
Yeah.
And that makes them almost impossible to stop.
So let's talk about the gender piece here. Why do women need a different framework for this? Don't men have self-limiting behaviors too?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. And some of them are the same. But the sources are really clear on this. Women face a unique set of challenges. They get rewarded for different things, and so they adapt in ways that can, eventually become these traps.
Can you give an example of that?
Well, think about the history. Most corporate structures, the way we decide promotions, the way power works, they were largely designed by men for men.
Right.
So women had to adapt to succeed inside those structures. And they often did that by leaning into virtues like, say, modesty or being a great team builder. And those are great things.
But they can run counter to the kind of assertive, individualistic behavior that's often rewarded at the very, very top.
That's the conflict, exactly.
And I think it's so important to say this up front, and the authors say it over and over. We're focusing on the personal behaviors you can control.
Yes.
We are not in any way glossing over the huge, real external barriers, the institutional sexism, the old boys networks, unconscious bias. All of that is real.
It's absolutely real, and those things have to change. But they're outside of your immediate personal control. Your habits, on the other hand.
Your habits are in your control. That's where you can start.
That's your starting point for change. And if you want to change habits, you kind of have to start with how you define success itself.
What do you mean?
Well, the traditional, let's say, male-centric view of success is pretty straightforward. It's high position, high salary, and, winning, beating the competition. Men are just more likely to judge themselves by those yardsticks.
Whereas the women in these studies, they defined it differently.
Very differently. They placed a huge value on the quality of life at work, the impact they were having, actually enjoying their coworkers, having some control over their time.
So they're much more likely to walk away from a job, even a high-prestige, high-paying one.
If it compromises those things,
Yeah.
they'll just say, you know what? It's not worth the cost.
And that difference is huge when you start talking about moving from being a star performer to being a leader.
It's critical. Marshall, one of the experts, his big observation is that the number one challenge for successful men is winning too much.
Winning too much. How can you win too much?
It's that need to win in every little interaction, to be the smartest person in the room. That competitive drive is great when you're an individual contributor, but it's a disaster for a leader. You have to switch from it's all about me to it's all about them.
Making everyone else on your team a winner.
That's the definition of leadership. And men often struggle with that switch.
So if that's where men get tripped up, where do women hit a wall?
It's interesting. Women are often much better at that all about them transition.
Yeah.
They're naturally inclined toward mentoring, team building, sharing the credit.
Sounds like a strength.
It is a huge strength, but here's the dark side. They can overinvest in the success of the team or their boss or the organization.
And underinvest in themselves.
Exactly. They underinvest in their own visibility, their own strategic advancement.
Yeah.
They're so busy helping the team win the game, they forget to make sure they have a seat in the owner's box.
Wow. Okay, that actually leads perfectly into this whole idea of resistance, right? Because if you're going to change these deep-seated behaviors, you're going to push back.
You are. And the way men and women resist feedback is, well, it's radically different.
So Marshall observed this classic three-stage pattern of resistance in successful men.
Yeah, it's all about ego defense. It's protecting that success delusion we talked about.
So stage one is just denial.
Right. You must be confused. You misunderstood the situation. Your data is wrong. It's never about them.
And if that doesn't work, stage two is rationalization.
Okay, fine. Maybe that's true for other people, but it doesn't apply to me. If it did, how could I be so successful?
It's the ultimate trump card. My success proves you're wrong.
And if all else fails, stage three is attack. You attack the person giving the feedback, you blame the source, you change the subject. Anything to avoid actually dealing with the behavior.
It's a wall of ego.
A fortress. Now compare that to the female pattern of resistance. It's often less defensive on the surface, less about ego.
But it's just as powerful.
Just as powerful, but it's rooted in things like self-criticism, shame, or feeling deeply hurt.
Okay, so let's look at the classic case study here. Frances Hesselbein, the CEO of the Girl Scouts.
An absolute legend. So she gets her 360-degree feedback report, and Marshall says it's one of the most glowing, positive reports he's ever seen in his life.
So she must have been thrilled.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But she doesn't celebrate. She doesn't even pause on the praise. Her first immediate reaction is to say, I have so many things I need to improve.
Wow.
And she immediately makes a list of 27 things she wants to work on. She completely skipped over the mountain of success to focus on the tiny pebbles of perceived failure.
That is just so telling. It's this internalized pressure.
It is. Now contrast that with Ellen, the software engineer. Her review was great, but her boss just added a note that she needed to have more of a presence.
Okay. A pretty common piece of feedback.
Very common. But Ellen didn't get angry. She didn't get defensive. She felt this profound, immediate shame.
She internalized it.
Completely. She was paralyzed by what the authors call the resistance of hurt. She saw it as a total personal failure, that she had failed to convey her own value instead of seeing it as just, a habit she could work on.
So if the male resistance is built on this foundation of overconfidence, the female pattern is built on these specific culturally reinforced beliefs.
Yes, and these beliefs provide the rationale for staying stuck. They replace the ego defense.
What's the first one?
The first, and maybe the biggest, is the belief that ambition is a bad thing.
Oh, that's huge. You see high-profile women get called too ambitious all the time. It's almost always a criticism.
Almost never used that way for a man.
Right.
Right. And so successful women learn to associate the word ambition with really negative things. Egotism, selfishness, being manipulative.
Right. There's this story about Nikki, a senior law partner. I mean, she's at the absolute top of her field, a global firm. And she would not describe herself as ambitious. She'd say she was driven. To her, ambition felt dirty, like it was all about scheming and using people.
If you think ambition is a bad word, you're going to subconsciously pull back from advocating for yourself. You'll think you're taking the moral high ground.
When really you're just choosing not to maximize your own talent.
Exactly. And the sources offer this really useful reframe. Ambition isn't about selfishness. It's about the desire to maximize your talents in work that you find worthwhile. That's it.
Okay, so what's the second core belief?
Being a good person means not disappointing others.
The disease to please.
The disease to please, in a nutshell. It's this virtuous, wonderful desire to be helpful and not create friction, but it often leads to sacrificing your own critical interests.
Like Miranda, the senior law associate.
Tell that story.
So a colleague who could have easily done the work himself volunteers her for some thankless committee job. It does nothing for her career.
Right.
And when she asks him why he picked her, he just flat out says, because you seem like someone who would basically say yes. She was more afraid of disappointing a casual colleague by saying no than she was committed to protecting her own time to, do the work that would actually get her promoted.
The fear of being seen as not nice just completely overrode her own strategic judgment.
And the third belief, this one's especially for women who are already in the spotlight.
Yeah, this is the pressure that women should always be role models for other women.
So every decision you make isn't just a personal one. It becomes this huge symbolic event that gets scrutinized by everyone.
The Marissa Mayer example is perfect here. When she was CEO of Yahoo, she took a very short maternity leave after having twins, and the backlash was immense.
People said she was setting back what all women have worked for.
It's an impossible standard. It forces successful women to constantly live up to these external expectations, creating this crushing fear of letting everyone down.
So what's fascinating here, and this brings us back to what you said at the very beginning, these beliefs aren't coming from a bad place.
Not at all. They're sophisticated coping mechanisms. Which brings us right back to the strengths to weakness paradox.
Right.
For every single one of the 12 habits we're about to discuss, the flip side of it, the root of it, is a virtue. It's modesty, it's diligence, loyalty, empathy.
So the goal isn't to get rid of the strength. You're not saying stop being loyal.
God, no. Those strengths are what got you here.
Yeah.
The goal is to just recognize and stop the specific counterproductive behaviors that those strengths produce when they're taken too far in a high-stakes environment.
Okay, that is a perfect setup. Let's get into the 12 habits themselves. We can group them into a few clusters, right?
Yeah, let's start with the visibility and credit cluster. This is all about how you claim your space and your accomplishments.
And habit number 1 is the reluctance to claim your achievements.
When you ask women why they don't self-promote, you almost always get the obnoxious blowhard excuse.
So what?
The obnoxious blowhard. They immediately picture the most shameless, arrogant self-promoter they know, usually a guy, and they say, well, I don't want to be that.
So they set up this false dichotomy. It's either be a humble mouse or an obnoxious jerk. There's no middle ground.
None. And by doing that, they give themselves permission to stay in their comfort zone. They feel morally superior for being quiet, but they're also staying stuck.
And this has real tangible consequences. The story of Amy, the nonprofit leader, is just brutal.
It really is. So she co-chairs a big charity event with a guy named Mitch. It's a huge success. The press is there.
Right.
When Andy gets interviewed, she spends the whole time talking up Mitch, praising the team, deflecting all the credit. Classic behavior.
And what does Mitch do?
Mitch uses his interview time to talk about Mitch and his agenda and his organization. Yeah. Amy assumed he would reciprocate, and he just didn't.
And her board was not happy.
They were furious. They told her, your job is to promote our organization, not his. Her habit of constantly turning the spotlight onto other people was actively hurting her own cause.
So what's the fix? The immediate first step? It seems so simple, but it's so hard.
It's incredibly hard to do in the moment. When someone praises you for your work, you have to learn to just say 2 words, thank you.
And that's it. Full stop.
That is it. No, it was a team effort. No, well, Susan did most of the hard work. No deflections. Marshall actually finds his clients when they break this rule.
Because every word you add after thank you just diminishes the credit you're being given. You're watering it down.
You're handing it back. And you have to learn to just accept it. That's step 1.
Which flows right into habit number 2. Expecting others to spontaneously notice and reward your contributions.
The great work should speak for itself. Fallacy.
Right. It's this passive belief that if you just put your head down and do amazing work, the universe, or at least your boss, will recognize it and reward you.
It's a dangerous assumption. Because in a busy, noisy organization, great work often gets overlooked if you don't shine a light on it yourself.
Look at Ellen, the engineer again. She was this incredible internal connector, setting up collaborations that saved the company millions.
But she just saw that as part of her job. She never talked about it, never documented it. So from her boss's perspective, it was invisible. He had no idea what her true impact was.
She felt good about not, tooting her own horn, but she also stayed stuck in the same role for years.
And this is exactly what Maureen, the law firm partner, figured out. She made partner much later than her male colleagues, and she couldn't understand why. She was just as skilled.
So what was the difference?
She realized the guys who were on the partner track were always talking about making partner. They were constantly signaling their ambition, their commitment. So the leadership saw them as partner material.
Meanwhile, Maureen was just quietly billing hours, doing excellent work.
And so they perceived her as less committed. They thought, oh, she must be happy just doing the work for its own sake. They assumed she was ambivalent about rising.
That's devastating. Your silence is interpreted as a lack of ambition.
Exactly, which is why you have to actively market yourself. And this brings us to a really powerful tool, the elevator speech.
This comes from an executive sponsor named Dong Lao. You need a concise, rehearsed statement ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yes. He saw this young analyst get into an elevator with a top executive, and in like 3 sentences, the kid laid it all out.
What'd he say?
Something like, here's my current role. My goal is to lead the telecom investment team in South Asia. And here's why I'm qualified. I have deep family ties in the region. Boom. Done.
So in less than a minute, he came across as ambitious, strategic, and concise.
3 things executives absolutely love. It's not just a sales pitch. It's a vision statement for your career. And it shows you can get to the point. No rambling.
Okay, so let's round out this visibility cluster with habit 9, which is minimizing. This one is subtle.
Very subtle. It happens both physically and verbally.
Let's start with the physical. What does that look like?
It's the submissive body language. Drawing your arms in, crossing your legs tightly, literally trying to take up less space in a room. Or when a powerful person walks in, you see people almost shrink and move to the edge of the room.
It's this instinct to get small.
It's a deeply ingrained submissive behavior. And it sends a subconscious signal, both to your own brain and to everyone else, that you don't feel you should be occupying that space. It just kills your authority.
And then there's the verbal minimizing.
Oh, this is so common. It's all the qualifiers and disclaimers. Starting sentences with, this is just a little idea, but, or maybe this isn't important, or I just wanted to say.
It's like you're apologizing for having an opinion before you even state it.
You are. You're diluting your message before it even lands. And then there's the big one, the we problem.
Yes. Using we when you really mean I.
You're trying to be collaborative and inclusive, which is a good impulse. But when you talk about a major achievement and only say we, you make it impossible for listeners to understand what your essential contribution was.
This is that speaking while female double bind, isn't it? If you use I, you risk being seen as arrogant. If you use we, you risk being overlooked.
It's a real bind. But the sources are pretty clear. The long-term cost of habitually using we and making yourself invisible is almost always higher than the short-term risk of using I and being seen as assertive. You have to claim your piece of the win.
Okay, let's shift gears. The first cluster was about visibility. This next one is about diligence and overcommitment. These are traps built out of good qualities like loyalty and hard work.
Right. And it starts with habit 3, overvaluing expertise.
This is the person who needs to know every single detail, the master technician.
Exactly. And being a master of your current job is a great strategy for keeping your current job.
But not forgetting the next one?
Not at all. As you move up, your job is less about doing the technical work and more about leading the people who do the technical work.
Yeah.
You need to be a manager of experts, not the sole expert.
If you're always down in the weeds, you're signaling that you're a technician, not a strategist.
That's what happened to Ashley. Her mastery mindset was so valuable to her boss that when she tried to move to another division, he literally blocked the transfer. He told her, I can't afford to lose you.
So her competence became a pair of golden handcuffs.
It did. She had to learn to see her job, not as a final stop, but as a bridge to whatever came next, which meant she had to start letting go of the details.
This sources talk about 3 kinds of power here, right?
Yeah, this is key. You have the power of expertise, which is what you know. You have the power of connections, which is who you know. And you have the power of personal authority, your gravitas, your influence.
And if you only focus on expertise,
you leave the other 2, the ones that are absolutely essential for executive leadership, completely underdeveloped.
Okay, next up is habit 6, putting your job before your career. This one is rooted in loyalty.
A huge virtue for women, but it can be a trap. Women often stay too long in roles out of a sense of gratitude or loyalty to a person or a team.
The story of Serena, the production assistant, is a perfect example.
11 years in the same role. 11 years. Because her boss had been good to her, and she felt this deep loyalty.
And in those 11 years, all her male peers who started with her just shot past her.
She had to have this painful awakening that her loyalty was serving him beautifully, but it had completely stalled her own career.
There's an organizational trap here, too. Loyalty to your team makes you focus on becoming a great internal manager, making things run smoothly inside your department.
Which is a valuable skill, but your male colleagues are often out there building external networks, doing the promotional stuff, and senior leadership roles are almost always about external relationships and big picture strategy, not day-to-day internal management.
So you master the wrong skill set for the job you want.
You become the best internal manager in the company, and you get stuck there.
All right, let's talk about the next one. Habit 7. The perfection trap.
The endless, exhausting pursuit of being 100% error-free.
This creates so much stress, and it pulls your focus away from the big picture and down into the tiny details. And you're always disappointed because perfection is, impossible.
And think about how this gets reinforced. Early in their careers, women are often rewarded for being precise and correct. The flawless report, the perfect event plan.
While men are often rewarded for taking big swings, for being daring, even if they make mistakes along the way.
The system literally rewards different things. Precision in women, risk-taking in men.
But the real cost of perfectionism, especially for a leader, is that it makes it impossible to delegate.
Absolutely, because you tell yourself, it's just easier to do it myself if I want it done right.
Which leads to micromanaging your team.
Which completely demotivates them. Why should they try their best if you're just going to come in and fix it anyway?
Yeah.
You end up enabling helplessness, both at work and at home.
The root cause of this really is a failure to prioritize.
Yes. A perfectionist treats every task as equally urgent. Being 2 minutes late to a meeting feels like the same level of catastrophe as missing a huge deadline. It's a total lack of perspective.
Okay, the last one in this cluster. Habit 8. The disease to please.
This is that deep subconscious need to be nice, to be thoughtful, to make sure everyone feels good.
And it's so heavily reinforced by society and also at work. Women are often pushed into those helping roles in middle management.
Exactly. You're supposed to support others, not necessarily lead a big revenue-generating division.
Nancy, the hospital administrator, her story is just a case study in this.
Oh, totally. She had this pathological need to be indispensable, and she felt guilty saying no. So even after she became a top executive, she was still personally answering calls from patients she knew years ago.
She was running herself into the ground.
And it was backfiring. Her new staff resented her for swooping in and undermining them. Her high-level contacts felt she was always distracted. She was trying to please everyone and ending up pleasing no one.
And you can't ignore the cultural pressure here. The sources talk about how we've created this most labor-intensive style of mothering the world has ever seen.
Right, the elaborate birthday parties, the pressure to be at every single school event. It's this constant guilt machine that just reinforces the disease to please until you burn out.
Okay, so we've covered visibility and overcommitment. Now we get to the really internal stuff, the internal mindset cluster.
Right, the psychological traps we set for ourselves. Starting with habit 11, ruminating.
Chewing the cud.
Exactly. It's dwelling on mistakes, replaying negative conversations, obsessing over things you regret. And research shows this is way more common in women.
And we're more likely to assume any setback is 100% our fault.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about rumination is that it feels productive, like you're analyzing the problem, but you're not.
You're just spinning your wheels.
You're just spinning. It's totally counterproductive. It makes you feel worse. It's linked to depression, and it stops you from taking action. It truly is analysis paralysis.
So what's the antidote? How do you break that cycle?
Active interruption. And the coaches have this really potent, simple mantra they teach, which they learn from watching men. Men move on.
Men move on.
One executive, Gina, said she'd be in a meeting and her brain would start down that rabbit hole of self-doubt. And she'd just repeat to herself, mentally, men move on, so I can move on too. It's a thought stopper.
That's a great tool. And it leads right into habit 12, letting your radar distract you.
This is fascinating. It's actually based on a cognitive strength. Women's brains often have what's called radar notice.
What's that?
It's broad spectrum. You notice a ton of details at once, the context, the social dynamics. It's great for empathy and communication. It's often contrasted with men's laser notice, which is more tightly focused and sequential.
But that strength has a shadow side.
A huge shadow side. It means it's really hard to filter out the noise. Your attention gets scattered, you overthink everything, and it just feeds that rumination cycle.
The story of Taylor, the coach, is a perfect example. She's giving a big presentation to potential clients.
50 people in the room, and her radar immediately picks up on 3 things. One guy in the second row looks skeptical, one woman is on her phone, and the air conditioner is humming.
None of which are critical to her success.
Not at all. But instead of staying focused on her message, she lets those 3 little distractions completely hijack her brain. She loses her flow, she starts apologizing. She just derailed her own talk.
It's that idea of the left-hand column taking over.
Explain that.
The right-hand column is your plan, your script, the logical task at hand. The left-hand column is all that internal chatter, the doubts, the distractions, the what-ifs. When you let the left-hand column win, you lose control.
Okay, last habit. Habit 10. Too much. This is a big catch-all category for that feedback women so often get. You're too intense, you come on too strong.
And we breaks down into a few areas. First, too much emotion.
Right. Marshall's observation is that successful men often use anger as a tool. They see it as a way to assert dominance. Women, on the other hand, are more likely to express things like dread, fear, or vulnerability in a high-stakes setting.
Which can be perceived as weakness.
It can. So the key is to learn to channel it. One executive, Rosa, in construction, learned to take her feelings of dread and turn them into super firm, logical, data-driven recommendations. The intensity was still there, but it was channeled into authority, not just emotion.
Okay, next is too many words.
Yes. The research is pretty clear. Women tend to speak more words per day than men. Sure. And in a corporate culture that values being concise, getting to the bottom line, wordiness is seen as unprofessional.
So this is over-explaining, giving too much backstory.
Using long, rambling sentences instead of just saying, here are the 3 key points. Mm-hmm. One top researcher had to literally practice and rehearse being concise until it became a skill. It doesn't come naturally to everyone.
And the last one is too much disclosure.
Mm-hmm. Sharing personal vulnerabilities is a really powerful way that women build intimacy and friendship. It's a bonding mechanism.
It can backfire at work.
It can really backfire. Men in the workplace tend to bond through activities or shared goals, not deep personal disclosure. So sharing details about your marital problems or financial struggles can actually undermine their perception of your professional competence.
It's that fine line. Authenticity is good, but it doesn't mean you have to share everything.
Exactly. Intimacy builds friendships. Authority builds professional power. You have to know which one you're building in any given moment.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot to take in. We've gone through all these traps. So now we have to pivot to the solutions. How do you actually start to change this stuff?
The first, most important strategy is to start with one thing.
Don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly. If you try to fix all 12 habits at once, you will fail. Guaranteed. You have to break it down.
So if you have the disease to please, you don't just decide, I'm not going to please people anymore.
No, you pick one tiny specific behavior, like, this week, I will not volunteer to take the notes in meetings. And you just practice that one thing over and over.
This is where having a clear intention becomes so important. It's the engine for change.
It is. You need a powerful why. If your goal is really clear, I want to be a trial lawyer, or I want a seat on the executive committee, that goal gives you the motivation to push through the discomfort of changing a habit.
It becomes your filter. You can ask, is this behavior my perfectionism, my minimizing, getting me closer to that goal, or further away?
And that's why that elevator speech is so much more than a marketing tool. It's your vision statement. When you can clearly articulate your purpose, you know which habits are the biggest roadblocks you need to tackle first.
Okay, so you pick one thing. But the next strategy is just as critical. Don't do it alone. You have to enlist allies.
You have to. We all have what the authors call a built-in forgetter. The second you get stressed or busy, your brain goes on autopilot and reverts right back to the old habit.
So you need someone to hold you accountable.
You need an external check, and it's simple. You ask a trusted colleague, hey, I'm working on apologizing less. If you see me do it in the meeting, can you just, raise your eyebrow at me?
It's a nonverbal cue.
A simple cue. And it does 2 things. It gives you that real-time feedback you need to interrupt the habit, but it also strengthens your relationship with that person. You're showing you trust their judgment.
And Marshall has a whole 4-step process for how to receive this feedback when you ask for it.
He does. Step 1 is just listening. Sure. Listen all the way through. Don't interrupt. Don't plan your rebuttal in your head. Just absorb.
Step 2 is thanking.
Just say thank you. That's it. Don't agree, don't argue. Just express gratitude that they took the time to help you.
Step 3 is following up.
This is huge for long-term change. You have to go back to your ally later and say, hey, how am I doing with the apologizing thing? It keeps them invested and keeps you accountable.
And the final step is advertising.
Yes. You have to tell people what you're working on because people's perceptions of you change very, very slowly.
Like Maureen, the lawyer who wanted to make partner, a few assertive comments weren't going to change years of people seeing her as passive.
So she launched what was essentially a PR campaign.
Yeah.
She told everyone over and over that she was committed to making partner and what she was doing to get there. You have to advertise your change to make it stick in other people's minds.
A great way to structure all this is with peer coaching.
It's so effective.
Yeah.
It's just a semi-formal agreement between two people to hold each other accountable on specific goals with regular check-ins, daily, if you can. It's the ultimate weapon against the forgetter.
Okay, so the last big piece of the puzzle here is the psychological part.
Right.
Letting go of judgment.
This is maybe the biggest hurdle for women. That self-judgment, that self-criticism is what sets back change more than anything else. You have to learn to forgive yourself when you slip up.
And there's a great tool for this that bypasses all the defensiveness of feedback. It's called feed forward.
I love this technique. So feedback is about the past, right?
Yeah.
Here's what you did wrong. And that immediately puts your ego on the defensive.
Right.
Feed forward is only about the future. You don't ask, what did I do wrong? You ask your allies, next time I give a presentation, what's one suggestion you have for me to be more concise?
So it's positive, it's future-focused, and it's not a critique of what you've already done.
It's brilliant. It's all about improvement, not judgment.
And for that internal self-judgment, there's the incredibly simple mantra, oh, well.
That's it. You mess up. You apologize when you didn't mean to. Instead of ruminating on it for hours, I'm such an idiot, you consciously interrupt that thought with, oh, well.
And you move on.
It's a signal of self-acceptance. It's like that parable about the monk. You have to learn to leave your mistakes at the stream and not carry them with you all day.
And as you're deciding what to leave behind, it helps to create a to-don't list.
We all have endless to-do lists. This is about consciously deciding what you are going to stop doing.
And not just chores, but behaviors.
Exactly. Your to-do list should have things like, I will not check my email for the first hour of the day. I will not say yes, but when someone gives me an idea, I will not let my phone interrupt focused work. It's about intentional subtraction, which is often way harder than adding something new.
So as we bring this all together, I think the most important thing to circle back to for you listening is that all of this started from a place of strength.
We absolutely have to end on that. You have to respect the virtues that got you to where you are.
That reluctance to claim achievements, it's rooted in real modesty. The disease to please comes from a genuine, unselfish desire to make people happy.
Minimizing comes from being highly aware of other people's needs and feelings. So changing the behavior doesn't mean you have to kill the virtue underneath it.
But the whole point of all this is to increase your influence, to have a bigger impact. And while you can't control the culture or the system overnight,
your habits are 100% within your control. And that's why working on them isn't selfish. It's the most direct, powerful starting point you have for changing your professional future.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to take away.
It's this. Spend less of your energy focusing on the failings of other people. Stop keeping a mental scorecard of your boss's blunders or thinking you'd think someone at his level would be more competent.
Because judging other people,
it's a total waste of your precious time and energy.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it stops you from focusing on the one person whose behavior you actually can change, the one person whose career you can actually accelerate. And that's you. Where you put your focus is what will determine your future.
If this episode inspired you, follow FM Book Club for more empowering book summaries. Check the video description for affiliate links to How Women Rise and our weekly newsletter. Until next time, keep learning, keep rising, and keep believing in your brilliance.